Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, Maverick family and new viewers from all over the world. Great to have everyone watching and great to have everyone here tonight. One person not here is our special guest for tonight. At least not yet. Lindsey Graham, Patriot Barbie, I thought would be here. So far, she hasn't stopped by. Maybe we've got our wires crossed. I don't know. But hopefully she shows up. I've been very excited about having her back on the program. And we'll just have to play it by ear to see if she shows up. No big deal. We will continue with our discussion, our coverage of today's top news stories. You and me together will explore the world of news and continue our quest for truth and peace. And maybe Lindsey will show up. And if she doesn't, we'll just reschedule. We'll get her on at another time. I really want to get her on, though, to talk about the presidential election. I'd really like to get her thoughts on that. And I know that she just went through a bit of a challenge with censorship. So I would like to find out more about that story as well. And when she eventually gets here, we will ask her questions about all of that and more. And we'll dig into a lot more of today's top news on the other side of this. Don't go away.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV.
The entire world is watching.
On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
He's a fighter. He's a survivor. President Trump, defiant, strong. He is determined to make America great again. Pay tribute to the 45th President of the United States with this collectible t-shirt from the Maverick News Memorable Moments collection. Even a would-be assassin's bullet could not stop him. Instead, he emerged with his fist in the air ready to fight. For freedom. Get your Trump Fighting for Freedom t-shirt with any donation of $30 or more to Maverick News. There are two iconic artistic designs to choose from. But there is only one way to get these. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Support free speech. Free media. Support Maverick News. Call 1-866-248-1490 or order online at supergeeks.tv.
And we do still have those Trump t-shirts available. So if you'd like one of those, a donation of $30 or more and I'll send one of those along to you, complimentary, compliments of Maverick News. Let me put the URL up there for you. You can donate at maverickdonations.com or also at freedomreporters.com. When you donate, if you want a shirt, just make a comment in the comment section to send a message back. Just let me know which shirt you want, what size you need, and I would be happy to send that out. And in addition to those, we have Maverick t-shirts, Maverick News t-shirts for donation of $30 or more. We can send you one of those. And we just got these back in stock, brand new. I just sent one out today, actually. Maverick News polo shirts. Really, actually, very good quality. I'm not doing a very good job of holding them up, but they're very, very nice. High quality shirts, embroidered logo. And we also have a donation of $50 or more. And we also got these hoodies in. And these ones are embroidered. I had to get one made. So rather than do that, I thought, well, if people want embroidered hoodies instead of the silkscreen printed version, we'll get these with, again, the Maverick News logo embroidered right on the hoodie. And again, these ones are pretty nice. So 65 or more, any donation of $65 or more, and I will send one of those out to you. Just let me know what size you need, and I'll send it out. Now, we had a few made in blue by accident. So these would be considered, I guess, collector's items. I'm not sure what sizes we have available. We only have like a few. If you want one of the blue ones, hurry. Supplies are limited. Just let me know, and I will message back if there are any blue available. Otherwise, you can have any color you want as long as it's black. And that's the way that goes. Oh, yeah. Also, I just wanted to mention thank you also to anybody that has donated in the last while and ever. Really appreciate it very much. We need your support because it's entirely up to you guys whether we continue to pay the bills here and keep the lights on. And today, I think we got all caught up on any orders that were still outstanding. So we are right up to date. Now, that being said, I know that a couple of people were waiting on their shirts, and a few long-standing orders got filled today, finally. So I'm very happy about that. But Alicia in particular, had messaged me a few days ago and was waiting for a t-shirt to show up, and it hadn't arrived. So Alicia, if you're watching right now, if you still don't have that shirt, you email me and let me know, and I will look into that again further and send one out right away if the other one was lost in transit. Excuse me, I know that sometimes the addresses get a little squirrely when we go to the post office, even though to avoid mistakes, because I do actually package most of this stuff all by myself and ship it all out. Sometimes even copying and pasting. When I get down there can be confusion at the post office. Maybe, I don't know if it's my fault. I don't think it is. I don't think it's your fault. I don't even think it's the fault of the person at the post office. It's just the way it goes. But Canada Post has real problems, and we do ship stuff out by Canada Post. And we are seeing today, let me see if I can get the information on this, Canada Post in a tough spot. Apparently, they say that they are in financial trouble. See if I can find the information here. I had it queued up. Yeah, so the the chair of Canada Post's board says that the post office financial situation is unsustainable. Unsustainable. He says significant change is urgently needed to preserve Canada Post's delivery network. And he says the surge in online shopping over the pandemic reshaped parcel delivery services, at least that portion of the market. And he says Canada Post is now competing with high-tech, low-cost operators that are evolving, becoming more efficient, using new technologies. And it's very clear that over even the next few years, new technology will transform the shipping industry. I sometimes wonder how a company like Amazon actually does it. They have these vehicles driving all over the place. They are able to deliver all of this stuff, I think, for rates that are, I guess they do it in volume. Because you can order a $10 item and they'll ship it right to your door. They have to lose money on that. I just don't see how they can possibly be making money on it. But Donald Trump alluded to that actually in his last presidential campaign, saying that Amazon was actually ripping off the American public because their shipping was subsidized. So they're getting an unfair advantage as a big company over smaller companies that have to ship goods out. I can tell you that is absolutely true, because just today when I went down to ship out those shirts, we have to economize when we ship out, and we use Canada Post because it's the most economical, and they generally do a pretty good job. We have a business account with them, but you'll find that your parcels don't arrive in one day, because if we did that, I would go broke in about a week. So you have to be patient, but your parcels will arrive usually in about 2 or 3 days. And we use, various shipping products that Canada Post offers in order to ship our stuff out efficiently. But man alive, I tell you, a company like Amazon offering up their free shipping, and then they have these vans that drive around. They come right up to your door. They have a delivery guy who just drops it right on your doorstep. But I suppose when you're doing that kind of volume, you've got some big ticket item a block over, and then at your house, I order the $2 item. Actually, I don't order much of anything off Amazon, but I do see the trucks around here, and I see what they're doing. It is perplexing in a way to think about how they're able to offer that shipping at like no cost or low cost. China, too. People don't realize this. Shipping from China, subsidized by us. It's a long-standing program in Canada and the United States. It's a program that is really aimed at developing countries. It was put into place many, many years ago, but it facilitates the importation of cheap Chinese stuff into Canada, and they actually get subsidized shipping into this country. I think all of that should really be reviewed, because I guess it does benefit consumers here, benefits all of us, but on the other hand, it's all being done at our expense anyway because of tax subsidies or incentives, money that goes back to China, Chinese companies, and even the Chinese government. Speaking of somebody coming to your door, I think I'll save this maybe for the end. It's more of I don't know if it's funny. It's a little bit disturbing. It's funny too in a way, but it's a funny video. I'll save it for the end. In Canada, and this article here, well, I'm going to skip this too. Never mind that. I'm just a little disjointed because our guest didn't show up. So I'm kind of winging it as we go along here. But I do have things that I'd like to talk about. Justin Trudeau today speaking at a union conference in Winnipeg. He was there speaking at the International Union of Operating Engineers. and he was there to discuss the importance of organized labor. And he addressed concerns about the railway labor dispute. Took a few moments to explain the government's position on that, to justify his use of binding arbitration to get railway workers back on the job. Always controversial because it sort of does an end run around labor rights and even company rights. It imposes the government's will over both sides in a labor dispute. The workers there locked out. And then Justin Trudeau is saying, no, this is a vital service. We must proceed with binding arbitration. This is his justification.
I do want to discuss our government's actions to resolve the rail dispute. Our government fundamentally believes, and you all know this, that the best deals are always found at the table. That's why former Minister Seamus O'Regan and Minister Steve McKinnon pushed all the parties for months to negotiate, to reach a deal that keeps goods moving on our rails and addresses the serious safety concerns raised by Teamsters Canada. Unfortunately, CN and CPKC took the deeply unhelpful decision last Thursday to lock out employees after talks reached an impasse. That came with a cost of over $1 billion of shipments per day, while, as you all know, putting at risk thousands of jobs across the country, including union jobs. And it raised serious public safety concerns, with everything from propane for remote hospitals to chlorine for safe drinking water being transported on our rails. As a result, we reluctantly took the decision to request binding arbitration to resolve this dispute. To be clear, this is not the outcome we wanted to see. If it wasn't obvious to every Canadian already, Canadian rail workers do a vital job, and they deserve to work in safety and in dignity. And as Steve just said, we will be looking at every possible immediate and long-term solution to address the worker safety issues raised by the Teamsters Union, and ultimately to make our rail system work better. And during our Q&A after, I'll be happy to discuss this and take any of your questions to address further questions you may have, because it's a big thing, an important thing, and you know, for all the years we've worked together, that having a strong, open relationship that engages, frankly, with unions is core to this government's success and to Canada's success.
Well, if anybody knows about strong, or at least open relationships, it would be Justin Trudeau. Just saying. Oh, he just walked right into it. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I don't know if that's news, but it was funny for a moment.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV,
The entire world is watching.
on social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, let's get a little more serious now. So this out of Toronto, new details have emerged about a terror suspect at the center of a controversy surrounding Canada's security screening system. The suspect, Ahmed Fouad Mustafa El-Didi, reportedly arrived in the country 3 years after allegedly appearing in a 2015 ISIS video. According to a timeline presented at the Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security, El-Didi landed at Toronto's Pearson Airport on February 5th, 2018, and made a refugee claim that was accepted a year later, despite the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, or CSIS, screening him and issuing a favorable recommendation. CSIS learned in June of this year that El-Didi could pose a security threat, leading to an investigation. Both CSIS and the RCMP quickly acted, culminating in the arrest of El-Didi and his son Mustafa on July 28th. The two are accused of plotting an ISIS-inspired attack in Toronto. Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc, speaking before the committee, assured Canadians that an internal review is underway to examine what information was available at the time of El-Didi's entry into Canada and subsequent citizenship approval. LeBlanc emphasized that as soon as the potential threat was identified, security agencies moved swiftly to secure the arrests. However, one of the charges against El-Didi relates to an aggravated assault reportedly committed overseas in 2015, linked to a video released by ISIS in Iraq in which a man believed to be El-Didi is seen dismembering a prisoner. Conservative MP Melissa Lantsman questioned whether the current security system is effective, pointing to this case as a potential failure. The government is now considering revoking El-Didi's citizenship. Meanwhile, the CBSA has launched an investigation into his son, who is not a Canadian citizen and could face deportation. This situation remains under close scrutiny. The investigation continues. Also, from our legal files today, convicted serial killer Jeremy Skibicki has been handed 4 life sentences with no chance of parole for 25 years for the murders of 4 Indigenous women. 37 years old, he was emotionless, sat quietly in the prisoner's box at the Manitoba Court of King's Bench today. He spoke only once, briefly, when Chief Justice Glenn Joyal asked him if he had anything to say, and he simply replied, no. Back in July, Skibicki was found guilty of murdering 4 Indigenous women. Their names: Morgan Harris, Mercedes Miran, Rebecca Contoy, and an unidentified victim, the name Mashkobi Biskwekwe, or Buffalo Woman, was given. The conviction carries an automatic life sentence, no chance of parole, 25 years. So this sentence on Skibicki for each of the 4 counts of first-degree murder, and the judge says that rulings by the Supreme Court, these life sentences must be served concurrently rather than consecutively. Of course, we heard of, as well, how Skibicki preyed on these vulnerable women and talked about their connections to homeless shelters. He invited them back to his apartment. They were abused there, often sexually abused. And then during the trial, evidence came out that he killed each woman before defiling their bodies, and then he put them into, and I caution viewer discretion here again, into garbage bins and dumpsters. And then, of course, the remains went to landfill sites. And then that became center of huge controversy as well. Because of what the families wanted their remains back. So, in the GTA, we're seeing a big rise in crime, and Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, taking note of that, scoring political points with it, frankly, and posted this video today highlighting public safety as a major campaign issue, a major election issue. And we'll be hearing a lot more about it in the months ahead because we are entering into an election cycle here in Canada, already in full swing in the U.S., but election scheduling works differently up here, and we will need to go to the polls sometime over the next year. Poilievre hammering away on economic issues and also, as I say, public safety with this video.
We are experiencing an increase in crimes involving firearms. In 2024, the region has seen a 92% increase in shootings, a total of 46 since January of this year. And we've also seen a 106% increase in carjackings, a total of 64 since January of this year. And equally troubling, since 2019, over a 5-year period, we've seen a 400% increase in carjackings. Illegal handguns have become all too easy to access with limited consequences for criminals. And almost all of the guns being used in these crimes are illegal handguns, many of which are being smuggled across the border from the U.S. While we continue to see repeat offenders out on bail, reoffend, and commit violent crimes, York Regional Police will continue to do everything we can to hold those to account. We are experiencing an increase in crimes involving firearms. In 2024, the region has seen a 92% increase in shootings, a total of 46 since January of this year. And we've also seen a 106% increase in carjackings, a total of 64 since January of this year. And equally troubling, since 2019, over a 5-year period, we've seen a 400% increase in carjackings. Illegal handguns have become all too easy to access with limited...
Okay. Sorry, I've just got some breaking news coming in here. At least it appears to be breaking news. And I just want to check the validity of the information before I show it to you. So let me just take a really quick break, and then I'll come right back on the other side. So, yeah, please don't go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
It's so hard to know what the truth is, even when you're looking at something straight on. You could witness exactly the same thing as someone else, and these days you could have two completely different perspectives on it. It seems to be a mindset. Freedom Convoy was a perfect example of that. Some people saw it as an illegal act, an occupation. Other people saw it as just a peaceful protest. Other people saw it as people violating people's rights because of noise, honking horns, blah, blah, blah. Something weird going on in Colorado, in the community of Aurora, Denver. Claims that an apartment complex has been taken over by a Venezuelan gang. And there is video that I'm going to show you to sort of back up that claim, yet at the same time, the Denver Police Department is saying today that it's not even aware of any Denver apartment buildings that have been taken over by this Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua. So despite all of this, the department stated today that it takes the presence of the gang in the city seriously and that the safety of residents and its officers remain a top priority. And they say that there are reasons to believe that members of this gang are tied to crimes in the area, but they're saying that they're not aware of any apartment buildings being taken over by the gang in the Denver area. They have linked this gang to a violent jewelry store robbery. This happened back in June when 4 Venezuelan nationals were indicted in connection with that crime. And the same gang apparently triggered a law enforcement safety bulletin in which Denver police warned that members had been given a green light to fire or attack law enforcement. So this is a serious thing. But they're saying, oh no, this apartment building has not been taken over. Even though there's some strange stuff going on there. And it's not the only city that has addressed people's concerns about the gang's presence in the area. Back in August, the Aurora Police Department announced that it would join forces with the Colorado State Patrol and Colorado Bureau of Investigation for a special task force to address concerns about the gang. And so the city of Aurora closed the Fitzsimmons apartment complex off Colfax Avenue on Nome Street back in on the 13th of this month. They cited code violations, dozens of them. That's what they blamed for the decision to close it. And the company that operates the building said, though, that they were not able to conduct maintenance or repairs because the complex had been overrun by the gang. So what's the truth? Well, here's some video. I guess you can make up your own mind after looking at this. I don't know. It's like, don't believe your lying eyes or don't believe your truthful eyes. Here we go. This is what was released today. Nothing to see here, folks, I guess. Nice.
Nigga, the Venezuelans is taking over. They just jacked them? Oh, me. These niggas is out here tripping. Bro, damn, they done made a mess and shit.
I don't know what the heck's going on.
Nigga, y'all are on bullshit.
And our guest is arriving. I see Lindsay in the back room here. So we'll wrap this up. I'll come back on live with her in just a moment.
Yeah, they're tripping. Nigga, they cracking off in the air and everything. They driving over the... Nigga, we almost just got hit.
So, I guess you can assess for yourselves what the truth is. I'm not, I wouldn't say that's conclusive video, but it certainly raises questions. And let's not keep our guest waiting any longer. Let's bring Lindsay in. Hello, Lindsay.
Hello, Rick. Don't kill me. I had to rush to an emergency, doctor's appointment, and I'm in the car.
No problem. No problem at all.
With my 3 kiddos, but I wasn't going to leave you hanging.
Well, thank you very much. We're really excited to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah, for those of you who maybe are not familiar, Lindsay, freedom fighter, courageous. She kept her business open during the lockdowns, during the pandemic, and suffered the wrath like many, a few others, courageous souls. And she's been fighting ever since, and she's become a real leader in the movement, I would say, for freedom, both in the United States, and that's spilling over back here into Canada. And that's why we're so excited to have you back tonight, Lindsay. But I know that you've had some recent challenges with censorship. Can you tell us what happened with Facebook?
Well, so what happened with Facebook is, and your viewers are probably going to say something about me driving, but I'm getting ready to pull over, so don't worry. I had my personal Facebook flagged, banned, and deleted for fraud and deception, which makes no sense. It's the Facebook I've had for 25 years. It's got my wedding on it, my pregnancies, the birth of my children. It is definitely my Facebook page. In fact, ironically enough, Facebook had verified me 48 hours earlier. Now, I have 6 companies attached to my Facebook, and 3 of the pages were connected to my personal Facebook. So when they flagged my Facebook for fraud and deception, they slowly went in and handpicked and deleted the businesses that were attached to that Facebook. So when I woke up, or when I checked my phone or whatever it was, I think I was in church, got out of church and had a text message from my business partner, Kendall, in Kentucky. She goes, "Our page is gone." And I went, "What?" Got on, and I had all these alerts and these emails about Facebook deplatforming me. And I'm going, wait a second, what? So I logged on. I couldn't get into my Facebook. I tried to re-verify. They denied it immediately. And then sat there on the computer in live time and watched the emails come in. "Oh, we removed my Freedom Cart from Instagram. We removed Pretty Little Patriot from Instagram. We removed the Patriot Barbie shop from Instagram." And I'm sitting here going, what is going on? Because it was just one hit after the other. And none of it really makes sense, because let's take my Freedom Cart, for example. I've got the Instagram and the Facebook business, and they're linked. Facebook deleted the Instagram, but not the Facebook. It's like literally they were just going in and picking which business to deplatform, and only to platform it on one site as opposed to another. So, devastating for an entrepreneur like myself. These are my businesses that I've rebuilt in the last 4 years. And to have them all removed, it's about the content, the followers, the time that you've spent creating it, all just wiped away within a 2-hour period on Facebook. And this is my story, but this is the story of a lot of Americans, a lot of conservatives waking up and going, I got banned for censorship. I got a false flag and I got deleted. Some people say, I just woke up and it was gone. And then there's nothing you can do. There's no customer service at Meta. So it's really sad. It's really scary. And it's like we live on the edge every day of, I could spend this time building this, but they could just take it away whenever they want.
So how did you fight back or recover, or have you?
Well, so one of my business partners said, "I think I have a connection at Meta. Let me ping him and see what he can do." And that partner, whatever he did, he told the person this girl was deleted and all her businesses were deleted. And this one guy at Meta, who I don't know who it is, restored all of my accounts for me within 24 hours. He said it was not legit. It was just a a weird trigger in the back end of Facebook or something that went and removed everything. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty big flaw that you would just have, an accidental trigger that would remove my entire livelihood.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we've been banned for life, and it makes no sense to me. So we've just
Yeah.
been living without Facebook, but we're not alone. It's a big problem. Do you think that we're going to be seeing, or are you experiencing more censorship right now? Or I sense that there's more of it as we get into this presidential election.
I think there will be for sure. I actually got out of that that deletion and went right into a shadow ban. I mean, right into going from, I have 358,000 followers on Instagram. I would say anywhere from 60 to 100,000 will see my reels on a daily basis. It's now down to like 10,000, 20,000. So they shadow banned me, which I thought, oh boy, you didn't hesitate at all to strike me again when I'm down. But I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say that they've been banned / shadow banned right now as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you here as well, because I'd really like to get your thoughts on what's going on with this presidential election, because I know you're tuned right in, and I know that you're concerned about a lot of issues like abortion. We just came through that DNC convention. What were your thoughts there? Because like abortion seems to be almost, if not their number one issue, certainly in their top 2 or 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're basing, like Kamala specifically is basing her entire platform on reproductive rights. Now it's funny because an abortion is actually anti-reproduction. You're reproducing and then stopping the process of reproducing. It's literally a hypocritical oxymoron. But why? Like, why is it that you have nothing else that you offer this country except, hey, ladies, you can kill your baby if I say you can kill your baby? They went from, in 2020, or actually 2022, the Democrats and Bill Clinton specifically said abortions should be safe, legal, and rare. And even if I had to compromise on this issue, I would say, okay, I agree. If you're going to do it, at least protect the woman's life and be safe. I don't agree that it should be legal, of course, but rare. Yeah, that's one thing I can get a hold of. Rare. It should be rare. Now they're planting abortion mobiles outside of the DNC. And it's like, those women aren't coming in with, I'm dying, but I waited till the DNC to come and get an abortion. Oh, it's my health is at risk, but I'm going to wait and go get a free one at the DNC in the Planned Parenthood car. Is that safe? Like removing the body of a baby from inside a mother's womb in a truck, like a food truck parked in the parking lot, that's not safe, shouldn't be legal, and it's definitely not rare anymore. So it's like they again, with the slippery slope, the Democrats with their slippery slopes, they got in with that. We just want women to have access to do it safely because we care about women. To like, hey kiddo, you want some candy? Hop in the van and we'll give you an abortion. It's disgusting. And I can't believe they have nothing else to offer this country except to prey on weak, vulnerable women who are scared if they are pregnant and need help. There's all kinds of help we could give them besides kill the baby.
Right. What do you make of the coalition between RFK Jr. and Trump?
Well played. Well played. I'm gonna have to agree that he's gonna be very good for this country on health matters. Of course, I disagree with his stance on abortion because his stance is bodily freedom, and that includes abortion, which doesn't include bodily freedom for the baby inside the woman. So I vehemently disagree with him on abortion stance. But I think that when it comes to defying big pharma, giving parents back the rights, whether they want to vaccinate their children, getting a hold of the FDA and saying, what food are you feeding children in public schools? It's making them obese and sick. I think he's going to be amazing for the health part of this country, which is in dire need. And also how amazing and historical that a Kennedy, a Democrat, a lifelong, tradition of Democratic, would come alongside Trump and give an endorsement. I think it's going to change the whole election.
The media, the mainstream media, at least part of it, still coming after him, though, I see, with negative stories. The most recent one within the last 2 days talking about him chainsawing the head off a whale. Did
My
you see that
gosh.
story?
They will find anything. They'll find anything.
It's weird. It's really weird stuff. They must really be afraid of him to be coming out with this stuff. That story goes back decades ago.
Yeah.
So they're digging deep.
I'm curious, like if a whale is beached and dead anywhere, anytime at all, are they also slandering, attacking, and putting on the front page those people that had to dismember said whale and dispose of the body? Like, or is it just RFK that they're willing to do this to?
Yeah, I see. Well, Lindsay, I won't keep you too long because I know you've got your kids with you and you're on the road, and we're just really grateful to have you here. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what was going on with this election and find out, hello, how are you?
I know. I'm like, they're actually
Yeah.
enjoying this.
Yeah. So this is awesome. And so I'll just throw it over to you. Any final thoughts on the election, what you expect, or just your impressions overall as we head into this portion of the election cycle?
I expect Trump to win. I really do. I think that, like you were saying, with the RFK endorsement and the fact that he did win last time, but they cheated, I think there's going to be too much of a red wave for them to try to. I think they're going to try to cheat, but I think they're not going to be successful because you cannot magically come up with another 100 million people that are going to magically arrive in the United States to overpower a Trump vote. I think he's going to annihilate. And I think, I want to encourage conservatives. All we have to do is keep speaking up. The left is so radicalized that they are eating their own. And that's why Tulsi Gabbard and Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy Jr., that's why they're coming over to our side, not because we're the better side or the party of good or right, but because the other side is so disgusting now. We'd rather be over here. And so I just think all we have to do is keep doing what we're doing, do right, be right, stand for the right thing, stand in truth. And the left will continue to be so disgusting and full of death and hate and violent radicalism that we will continue to grow our side even more.
That's awesome. Lindsey Graham, Patriot Barbie, thank you so much for doing this tonight. Really, really appreciate it.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. And sorry for the cluster of being in a car with kids.
No, it's perfect. No problem. That's reality. That's
This
truth.
is reality. Yep.
All
Yep.
right. Thank you.
Thank
We'll have
you,
you
Rick.
back on again. Take care.
Okay.
Bye
Bye-bye.
for now. Really appreciate that. She's awesome. Okay, guys, we'll be back in just a moment. Let me just run this, and our coverage of today's top news will continue.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
And there is something going on out there because even CNN is running stuff critical of the Harris-Walz campaign. Here's Scott Jennings with pretty scathing comments over on CNN with Anderson Cooper. This, I wouldn't have expected to see this on CNN, but here it is. If you haven't seen it, you'll see it here now.
Is the line now going to be, well, why isn't she doing it by herself?
Yeah, I do think people are going to bring that up. Like, I have great confidence in Dana and CNN to do this. I think it's incredibly weak sauce to show up with your running mate. The fact that they don't have enough confidence in her to let her sit herself, the actual top of the ticket, and do a single interview. In fact, I think the hand-wringing and the gyrations over this over the last month show a troubling lack of confidence in her political ability, which also makes you wonder as a voter, well, what kind of president would you be if this kind of a small time decision, can we do an interview or not? What does that look like for your decision-making process, so on? So yes, I think Republicans are going to think it's pretty weak to show up with effectively someone to take up half the time.
Is the line now going to be
the issues: abortion, open borders, the economy. That issue, the economy, that's predicated on fuel prices largely. And here's celebrity, actor, Armie Hammer saying that this truck that he bought back in 2017, now keep in mind, okay, this guy is a Hollywood star, so I don't think he's hurting for cash, but even Armie Hammer can't afford to drive his pickup truck. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be some product placement thing for CarMax or not. He claims he's not getting paid by CarMax, and I wouldn't imagine this is the kind of information or statement that CarMax would want someone to make about the vehicle they get at CarMax, but I think CarMax is in the background. Anyway, here's Armie Hammer saying he can't afford to drive his pickup truck.
So I've been back in LA for a couple of weeks now. This is my truck. I bought this for myself in 2017 as a Christmas gift for myself, because I've had pickup trucks for a long time, and I have loved this truck intensely and taken it camping and across country multiple times and on long road trips. And I took it for one last road trip to CarMax. This is not an ad for CarMax. This is because I'm selling my truck. Since being back in LA, I have put about $400 or $500 worth of gas in it, and I can't afford it. I can't afford the gas anymore. I mean, this truck, like kids home from the hospital, all that stuff. Amazing trips, but you know what? That's okay. I got a new car. It's tiny. It's a hybrid. I'm probably going to put about $10 of gas in it a month, and this is it.
Is reality in 2024. Gas is expensive. Maybe after the election, things will be a little bit different. Man. Okay, so BC United has suspended its campaign. This is back in Canada, British Columbia. The BC United Party suspending its election campaign. Is this a trend? After RFK Jr. suspended his campaign, now everybody has to get in on the act, or what? Well, it's happening out there because BC United leader Kevin Falcon says that he wants to merge with the Conservative Party out there ahead of the October 19th election provincially. He says that it's the best thing for the province because they need to combine forces, join forces to defeat the New Democratic Party out in BC. He doesn't want vote splitting. So, again, a little dose of political reality out there. I guess, you know, those two parties don't always mesh on issues, the Conservatives and BC United, but in this particular case, they're going to put those differences aside and start campaigning together to present a united front against the far left socialists within the New Democratic Party of British Columbia. We'll be following that one too. Back out into international territory now as we look again at Ukraine and the situation there between Ukraine and Russia. Now, we did touch on this the other night But we're seeing Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov saying that the West is playing with fire by allowing Ukraine to strike into Russian territory with Western missiles. Of course, we've seen this incursion into the Kursk area with Ukrainian troops. Absolutely an embarrassment for Russia. It's a problem. It's a problem not just, on the ground, because now you have Ukrainian troops right in Russian territory. It makes it a little bit difficult to sit there and say that you're winning the war when you have Ukrainian troops in your territory now. But it's also a problem because it's a public relations disaster. It is, and it's being, exploited, I would say, by the pro-Ukrainian side. It has shifted the narrative. It has shifted the tone. It has shifted it has shifted a lot, and it has exposed a lot over the past 3 weeks. It has shown that Ukraine is, I think, stronger and doing much better than people here in the West were being led to believe by the narratives being spun up online. I think Russia has had the upper hand. No question about it. They've dominated in the area of propaganda and online PR and information dissemination. But suddenly things have changed. I took note today of a video that makes me realize Ukraine is catching up. And maybe not just Ukraine, but maybe even the West. I mean, everybody's always pointing their finger at the CIA, saying this, everything's the fault of the CIA. The CIA is behind everything. The CIA is the organization that is most masterful when it comes to propaganda. But I'm going to suggest to you that it's actually Russia that has had the most effective propaganda campaign going so far in this war. This war in Ukraine, not just being fought on the ground, it's being fought in cyberspace. It's a propaganda war. There's a war on for your mind. Well, the West, NATO countries, Ukraine, fighting back. I think that, and I think that they've had substantial influence, shall we say, over some people even within Russia, because now I just took note of this video from a young lady. Never heard of her until today, but she already has quite a substantial following online. Her name is Kitten Yulia. And she's, I guess, over in Russia, but she is spinning up an anti-Putin message. And I'll tell you, I want to run some of this for you because this is a lesson in propaganda right in front of us. How do you get people to watch? Well, you enlist the help of somebody like Kitten Yulia, and I would love to interview her because I think this is, well, let's just say, highly effective video.
Trying to advance on universally recognized Russian territory, the territory that's recognized by any other country, even Ukraine. They're doing it using NATO rifles, vehicles, and other military equipment. And what's strange to me is that nobody's talking about nuclear weapon strikes. Like before, everyone was saying that Russia will nuke everybody once the foreign army stepped on Russian soil.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm getting at with Lavrov too. He's been like rattling the saber, saying that the United States, NATO, needs to be very, very worried about World War III. You shouldn't be letting Ukraine use these weapons inside Russian territory, or you're gonna get World War III. And they have been talking for some time about using nuclear weapons if Ukraine should venture into Russian territory. Well, here we are, and what has happened? Nothing. Well, there's been some pushback, I guess, in the last week or so. But really, honestly, the response from Russia has been, I would say at this point, minimal, and in the eyes of some people like this Russian influencer, inadequate. This is putting pressure on Putin.
Almost every other day, Russian TV channels were hosting shows where the host was like, if NATO countries give something to our enemies, we'll use nuclear weapon. If this nuclear, if that nuclear. And now, logically, for the government, is the best time to talk about nuclear weapon, right? But nobody, at least what I know, nobody's talking about it. They only talk about counter-terrorist operation in Kursk region, and it makes me think that our government is actually not planning to do Armageddon, as they always say. I mean, those people in the government who live their best lives, billionaires, millionaires, they prefer living their luxury life in a mansion or penthouse, not in a bunker under a radioactive desert. Another question, how it happened. As I've read, there should be a lot of fortification things. 15 billion rubles, or almost $200 million were paid to build trenches and other infrastructure. And nothing was actually built, or was built, but most of the money were stolen, so the amount of built is too little. I wonder then, where did the money go? Talking about money, imagine living in Kursk region. You live there and now your town is being bombed, your house is destroyed. You need to quickly pack your things and move somewhere else, live in your job, everything you had. The government should probably be like, damn, that's bad. We should give some financial support to those families so they can live somewhere, buy clothes and food, of course. And you, as a person who left your town, you wait for it. And then you see the video where Putin says, we'll give those who were forced to leave financial aid 10,000 rubles, $107. 107. Another example of generous care of our government. There is the Zabaikalia region where big floodings are happening right now. Big waves of water destroying everything in its way. A lot of people lost their houses, jobs, cars, clothes, everything. And government pays $150 to those who lost belongings in the flood, and up to $1,500 to those whose house and belongings were destroyed. Like, you can't make this up. $150 what you spend in the supermarket just buying food for a week, and people who lost everything, they need not only food but medicine, rent money, clothes, and $150 is literally nothing, especially when you keep in mind that most clothes, medicine, food here actually cost the same as in the Western countries, or sometimes even more. So in my opinion, that's a spit in the face to the people who suffered under those circumstances. And no, you don't just get the money on your bank account. You need to wait for weeks, spend your time in a big line with hundreds of people. All this just for $150? That's ridiculous. I bet the government could give them more money as a support, but they already using their last reserves, so they don't have extra rubles to give. If only they didn't spend hundreds of billions of dollars doing other useless things, maybe then there could be enough money to help their own population in need. Maybe. About population in need, another crazy thing I saw when looking at the Yandex Go app. It's an app where we have every service by Yandex, Russian Google, bike rents, taxi, food delivery, and I see this.
Listen to me.
Here.
In coffee or just groceries from the store, and you have an option to pay for it later. I already told you about those split systems in my previous video, but let me remind you, whenever you see a lot of Russians flexing with their new Apple Watch Pro Mega Max, iPhone Giga Chat Mega Big, the devices that cost a few $1,000s, and you ask yourself, if Russia is so poor, why everybody has those expensive devices, expensive shoes or bags? Every single store here in Russia has a split system, whether it's an electronics store or a random clothing store. You press a button, put your documents in there, place your order, and get a new iPhone delivered the next day. And you pay for it by parts every single month for 6 months or a year. Every single marketplace has this feature, so people just buy expensive things that way. Because while American can work in McDonald's for a week and get a new iPhone, an average Russian needs to work for 6 months. So I saw a split system on food now. Food. Of course, it's a good thing. Those who cannot afford food can buy it now and pay for it year later, but can you imagine a good country with this feature? I would be surprised to learn that Switzerland or USA have this thing in their food delivery apps. So next time someone tells you how Russia is doing good, tell them that there is a huge demand on food loans, that even the most popular Russian IT service introduced this option to get a loan on food, Yandex app, Russian Google. Oh yes, I got my camera that I'm using right now to record this video that way. I took a split and now I'm paying for a year, so I'll really appreciate if you support me using the sites, the links in the description box, or YouTube things, but those sites in the description are better because there are fees on the.
Okay, you got the idea. And then she go, yeah. What is it about her that generates clicks, do you think? What is it? What she got going for her that makes her popular? What is it that propelled her to YouTube and internet stardom in such a short period of time? She's magnetic, I'll tell you that. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to check some of that information to see exactly, what that's all about. What was her name? Kitten? What's her name? Kitten something. Kitten Yali? Kitten, I can't remember now. I took it off the screen. Anyway, I thought she was dynamic. I'll put it to you that way. And I would love to have her on the program. So I sent her a message. I don't know if she will come on the program for an interview, but I thought that was unique. And that was a real shift in the narrative. That is for sure. She's no Scott Ritter. But I'd rather watch her, to be quite frank. I think she's great. I think she's yeah, I like her. What did she say again?
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So we spoke with Kevin Michelizzi last night about housing prices. We just heard from her about housing and people being displaced from their homes in the Kursk region because of Ukrainian troops coming in there. Should also mention that we have our eye on what's going on with Belarus, because there are a lot of reports over the last few days about Belarusian troops and armor possibly being assembled along the Ukrainian border, with potential threat there of a Belarusian invasion into Ukraine. And we've seen and heard warnings to that effect, even from Belarusian officials over the past week or so. So a lot of concern up there. Zelensky making it very clear that Ukrainian troops will take very aggressive measures against any Belarusian invasion into Ukrainian territory. Belarus, of course, strong ally of Russia. So be aware of that. I think that is a very real thing. And I think that from what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, a Belarusian initiative, incursion, invasion is almost imminent at this point. So look for that in the days ahead. Now, just back to the housing thing, I mentioned this over the last couple of days as well. The federal government in Canada under Trudeau, the Trudeau Liberals, the Trudeau Jagmeet Singh coalition government in Canada, well, they're addressing the housing shortage with a plan to build homes on federal land, but they don't want to sell the homes to you. They want to lease them. This is a modern twist on the old American/Canadian dream of home ownership. But of course, with a liberal, neoliberal, I would say even neoliberal, fascist government, they don't want you to own anything. They want you to, well, I would even say communistic, fascistic government. They don't want you to own anything. They want you to own nothing and be perpetually paying them because you've only been able to lease. But here's Housing Minister Sean Fraser.
We're building homes on federal lands. Although it may not look like it, the property we're standing on right now in Ottawa used to be a military base, CFB Rockcliffe. It played an important role for the RCAF for decades in the 20th century, but over the last number of years, it hasn't been doing much until more recently when the property was made available for housing. Today, this particular community has affordable housing, apartment buildings, single-family homes, transit services, parks, and more. There are thousands of federal properties in every part of this country that aren't doing much right now that could be made available to build more homes for Canadian families. Think about your own community. There may be a military base, an armory, a post office, an office building, or some other piece of federal land that could be made available to build more homes for Canadians. Now we're launching a new initiative that will build more than 250,000 homes for Canadian families. Today we're launching the new Public Land Bank, an interactive tool that you can check out to see which federal lands are going to be made available for housing next. The first batch of properties includes places like Vancouver, Port Moody, Calgary, Edmonton, Ottawa, Toronto, Kingston, Windsor, Dartmouth, Cape Breton, and more. If we're going to solve the national housing crisis, we need to do absolutely everything that we can. And by making federal lands available to build housing for Canadian families, we're going to be one step closer to restoring affordability in housing markets in every part of this country.
I'm not buying it. They're still taking a straight beeline, government is the solution approach. And I would argue government has created the problem. Government is not going to be the solution ultimately. And as we saw in the video from Justin Trudeau, I think we ran it last night, his address on this, he said that they're going to lease these homes. This is not about home ownership. You know, it's not. They're not focused on home ownership. Even Jagmeet Singh with the NDP, whenever he speaks about this, he talks about renters' rights. They're only focused on people renting. They're not focused on making homes more affordable for people to purchase so that you can build equity in your home over time, which you can then use as retirement income later in life. Sell your property. That's what a lot of people do. Or to own your home so that you don't have rent when you get into your senior years. This has always been one of the cornerstones for a bright financial future, a solid financial future into your retirement years, is home ownership. And with the Liberals and the NDP, it's out of reach. You can't get it. Housing prices, since Justin Trudeau has come into power, have more than doubled in many communities. The reason they need to lease you the property now or rent to you is because people can't afford the down payments on the homes. The only way to get people in to these homes is to create more rental properties. People can't afford to buy homes, and they can't get the down payments, and they can't qualify for the down payments. So rent, lease over time. And then when people can't afford to rent or lease, well, they'll just top it up with government subsidies and put everybody into shoeboxes. Prosperity is the key, creating wealth, high-paying, well-paying jobs. But as always, they're always just talking about, raising the minimum wage. They're always focused on the minimum, getting people the minimum wage. I want to get people the maximum wage. Let's set up an economy that is free and open and creates incentives to excel and to grow and to produce more prosperity and to produce affluence so that people have the money to purchase a home, to qualify for a mortgage. Create an economy that creates abundance, ample supply, which drives down prices while at the same time creating employment and wealth. And that creates opportunity. These guys don't get it. I mean, I guess they sort of do. It keeps you perpetually in their debt, dependent on government. Socialism. That's what this is. This is geared to income housing. This is low rent, government subsidized housing. They're building slums, and they want you to live in them. That's what the liberal plan is. And that's my editorial, and I'm sticking to it.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Vladimir Zelensky says that Ukraine has some sort of a new missile, a ballistic missile. And he says that they have tested it. It's their very first ballistic missile. He didn't elaborate on the nature or characteristics specifically of this new missile or weapon that Ukraine apparently has, but Russian officials are responding by trying to kind of downplay all of this. They say that it's probably older technology, and this is something else again that we will definitely be keeping an eye on. My guess is that as we learn more about it, it won't be anything that will be an absolute game changer here. Because, of course, you have to ramp up production and get these things, and I'm not exactly sure how far along we are with all of that, but they're not giving up, that's for sure. You got to give them top marks for effort, perseverance, and resilience. The Ukrainians, fearless fighters. And, back to the RFK Jr. thing, I have to say, I still think this whole thing with RFK Jr. is really weird. There's a lot of weird skeletons in his closet, because these are things, the story about him potentially eating a dog, the story about him dumping the bear in Central Park, didn't deny it, admitted it. If he had been held accountable at the time before the statute of limitations kicked in, he would have faced charges for doing that. dumping a bear, which was roadkill, but he threw it in the back of his vehicle, and then he ended up dumping it in Central Park with an old bicycle. It was a strange, weird story. Now this story coming out, and it's actually not new stuff. This is old stuff that's been dredged up. And I had never heard of it before, but here we are. There's a story about RFK Jr. A whale gets beached. It's dead. He goes out with a chainsaw, chops the whale's head off, and then straps it to the roof of his vehicle, and then heads across a state line, which now people are saying could be a crime in itself. They want an investigation. So, of course, they want an investigation. There's an election on. This goes back decades ago, though, and it was a relative of his that gave an interview to a magazine years ago about this, and this is where the information comes from. I haven't really heard a response from RFK Jr. on this one. There was also of course, there has to be, if you're running for president, there has to be someone out there who's going to accuse you of sexual assault. It just comes with the territory these days, and there was one of those. That cost him some support. But my thing is, this stuff, so weird, it can't be untrue. I think it's got to be true. And I think Trump needs, this is just, again, an editorial, speculative opinion on my part. But I think Trump needs to be extremely careful here. Extremely careful. Why? Because this stuff is so weird that it could potentially damage the Trump campaign. Because RFK Jr. is now attached to Trump. Keep in mind that right now, the whole world is upside down. People who say, everything you think that is seems to be not. Everything that's black seems to be white. Up is down, down is up. Politics is topsy-turvy, inverted. People that you think might be on your side might not actually be on your side. Someone who says they're trying to help you might not actually be trying to help you. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I can't say for sure what the heck is going on here. I'm just saying Trump needs to be careful, because now any of the weirdness, and what was the word that the Democrats, what word have they been using? Weird. Weird. That's what they started off with to hammer away at the Trump campaign. But I was thinking, weird? I don't really think there's anything that weird about the MAGA Trump Republican side. But I will say this. Eating dog, dumping bears in Central Park, and chopping the head off a whale, all that stuff is pretty darn weird. And now, it's in the Trump camp. Better be careful. I don't know what's coming next, but every election, every U.S. presidential election, there's always an October surprise. Right before you get into the final leg of the campaign, before you go to the polls in November, they always come out with something. There's always the October surprise, the giant bomb that's dropped to try to devastate your opponent, your political opponent, just in that perfect, so the timing is always perfect, just before the people go to the polls, so that this, whatever hit job it is that they come out with, it hits the peak of public attention, gets the most attention, and remains embedded in people's minds as they go to the polls, because it's just, the timing is perfect. It filters through that news cycle at just the right rate, so that it's still fresh in people's minds as they mark their ballots. Something will come in October. Make no mistake. There's always something in October. So look for that. And if I were Trump, I'd be very, very worried now, because, and I'd be very cautious. There's something weird about the whole darn thing. And that's the truth of the matter. You know what else is weird? And this is what I'm saying too. Like the whole, everything is upside down. And that is because of things like, well, this stuff. This is, like, it's all artificial intelligence. People can't tell what's real, what isn't. I showed you that video from that apartment complex in, Aurora and Denver. And yet you've got two completely different narratives on that, right? Oh, no, there's no gang taking over the apartment building here. And then we show ganger bangers with guns outside doors and hallways. And what the heck is going on? I don't know. And what do you make of this stuff right here? Like, seriously, this is pretty weird stuff. I'm not going to play the audio on this because I don't want the copyright strike. But this is the Door Brothers, and they're producing this stuff. And it is becoming virtually impossible to tell the difference between reality and fake. Look at how good this stuff is. And then you tell me that the stuff that you're getting out of war zones is accurate. I've been telling everyone for a while that the videos, the still images, a lot of the stuff coming out of Gaza, Ukraine, whatever, especially Gaza, there's been a lot of AI stuff generated there. You should be questioning everything. Look how good this stuff is. We are in a lot of trouble because this is already having an impact on our elections. Like, this is obviously fake, right? Like, it's obviously fake. It's made to look fake. But it's made to look, and it's made to look funny. But look at this. If this were real, my God. Or if you could, how do you tell the difference? It's good enough. You could convince people. Do you see what I'm saying? This is made to not, this is like a parody. This is all parody stuff, right? But you can now create stuff that would look so realistic that, look, you could have a world leader say it's time for World War III. This is getting dangerous. AI is taking over. It's creepy too. I mean, it's creepy. It's sort of funny, but creepy. What do you guys think? And I wonder is there maybe a larger message here? The Door Brothers. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Scary. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap up for the night. A little bit shorter this evening, but we've touched on all the bases that we need to touch on for this evening. Thank you, everybody, for spending your time here. I will return tomorrow night. Same news time, same news channel, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Maverick News Channel, where we have the antivirus programs for your mind. And we don't produce stuff like that. At least not yet. No, our pursuit of the truth will continue tomorrow on the flip side. See you then.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.